The day has finally arrived, and I can tell you it has been a slow week. Just today I had a 7-hour shift, and it slogged by while all my theories bubbled through my head as I feared they would all disappear before I could write them up. But that's not the case, else this video wouldn't be a thing. Anyway, for those who haven't been following this series of mine, it is a trilogy of theories on the Fnaf movie, with my first video being my theories on Vanessa, and the last video being my theory on Garrett. But today's video is my theories on the ending of the movie and what I feel that means for the next movie. Just a disclaimer, I would suggest watching both my previous videos, as I will be linking back to the previous points, which without context may not make too much sense. As well, of course, there will be spoilers, so if you haven't yet watched the Fnaf movie, which if you haven't yet, what are you doing with your life? But seriously, if you haven't watched the movie yet, save this to your watch list and come back to this video once you have. Right, so as you can tell by the title and what I assume the thumbnail will be, I believe the next movie in the franchise will be a prequel. However, before I can just state that and finish the video, I need to give you all some context on why I think it will be a prequel. To do so, I will split this video into 3 sections. The end of the movie, the end credits of the movie, and also interlinking my previous theories into it so that I can accumulate all my theories into one to round off the trilogy. So let's talk about the ending. There are a few key points I want to specifically pull out. The first one being the Springlock failure scene. In this scene, we see that Abby has drawn a picture to show the souls what William Afton did to them, i.e. murdering them. And due to this, the animatronics teamed up on William, which led to his suit having a Springlock failure. And we finally got to see what we have been waiting for, which I feel was so well represented in live action form, especially since the OG Springlock failure was in an 8-bit format. This also occurred in the Silver Eyes book, more specifically the graphic novel, where we saw Charlie Emily triggering the Springlocks in William's suit to cause the failure. You are probably now starting to wonder how this will relate to the next movie being a prequel. Well, this Springlock scene specifically isn't what makes me feel it will be a prequel. However, like I previously stated, the Springlock scene was very reminiscent of the Springlock failure in the Silver Eyes book. And as we know, in the Silver Eyes, the book ends with Charlie reminiscing on her past with her father. And as we know, in the next 2 books, we find out more about the past of Charlie and Henry and William. So if the movie is to follow the book contingency, like some people think, then it's likely we will see the memories of Vanessa or Mike in the next movie. But this is more me just throwing out my thoughts, so let's get into the good stuff. Once Mike and Abby escape the pizzeria with Vanessa, we are shown a small time jump where the movie goes on to show the life of Abby and Mike after the events. We then go on to see Mike in a hospital with what looks to be Vanessa in a comatose state. This is where my theory really starts to build, as if you watched my previous video on Vanessa, you'll know that I feel due to her being in a coma, it allows there to be chances of flashbacks to see her past, as hinted in the movie constantly. Specifically early on, when she is referring to her father, and again you see her looking traumatised in the parts and services room, which was also even brought up by Mike himself. I also feel with the bit of speech Mike gave to Vanessa about how he was struggling to get to terms with the situation even after it's happened, and without her they would likely be dead, it feels a perfect time for Blumhouse and Scott to go back in time to show us how she knows so much and how she was able to save them, as she too, just like Mike, isn't able to get over the past. And I'm sure Scott and Blumhouse are planning to bring these events onto the screen, and what better opportunity than through the memories of Vanessa in a coma. Finally, before we get to the end credits, we saw one final scene, where we see a derelict and destroyed pizzeria as the camera finally stops on a room where we see a struggling William Afton, where Golden Freddy watches as he sits in agony. William seems to reach out one more time, and I'm not too sure either if it's to ask for help or to show some sort of dominance, but he ends up struggling in pain while Golden Freddy slowly closes the door on him, which I feel symbolises William no longer having power over the souls. This whole situation with the spring lock failure was first shown to us in the Fnaf 3 game, where we know it is a sequel set well in the future of the previous 2 games. So you may be wondering, what's the relation with this and the second movie being a prequel? Well, we now know Vanessa is in a coma, or a supposed coma after the events of the movie, and William has been locked away, as shown by Golden Freddy shutting the door on him in the pizzeria. So what better time is there for there to be a prequel, as I don't see Blumhouse rushing to get Springtrap back into the movie after locking him away. I feel instead they'll be using Matthew Lillard, as we know he's been signed for a free deal contract or free movie contract. Supposedly, I'm not sure if that's actually true. He'll be used as William Afton during the events of the OG killings, and maybe even as far back as Fazbear and Friends. What I also feel they're leading up to is at the end of the second movie being someone finding Springtrap, similar to in Fnaf 3 when Phone Dude was saying how they found the suit in one of the back rooms. I can't say for sure who I think it'll be who finds Springtrap, however, I feel it is most likely that Springtrap won't be present in the second movie till the end where he is found in the room where Golden Freddy leaves him. I also feel at the end where Abby asks Mike if they can see the animatronics again as no one is looking after them, and he replies, "You never know what can happen." I feel this was a nod to the fans to suggest we will in fact see them again, however, without stating the way in which we will see them. Let's quickly bring it back to when Abby said about no one protecting the animatronics. Who do we know that protects the souls of the animatronics in the game? That's right, it's the puppet, and this is where we get into the final part of my theory. So let's talk about the end credits. These end credits were packed with lore. Obviously, the end credit scene started with the awesome music of the Living Tombstone, which in my cinema made everyone around me go mental. The first lore-related part of the end credits being the reappearance of Corey in his taxi, and this time, instead of either being Abby or Golden Freddy getting in, it is instead Balloon Boy, which for many may seem like a running gag, but for me and many others, we see the Balloon Boy as having a deeper purpose. Although I'm not one to think that Garrett is Balloon Boy, as stated in my previous theory video, I instead feel it is the way in which Garrett's soul shows that he is there. And as my previous theory suggests, I feel Garrett is the puppet. And what is significant about the puppet? Well, we were first introduced to the puppet in Fnaf 2, which guess what? Was also a prequel. In this game, we were also shown how the puppet became possessed in the Give Cake minigame. So I feel with all the heavy hints to Garrett being the puppet, we will see how he became the puppet, and this will link to how Abby says no one is protecting them. Yet, we will be shown even, who is protecting them, aka the puppet. The biggest support out of the lot being the puppet's music box playing, and then the coded message of "Come find me," which many feel is William Afton calling out to Vanessa, but I feel it is Garrett calling out to Mike or Abby to find him, which would make the most sense as both the music box and the coded message came after Abby stating how there was no one to protect the animatronics, which to me seems more than just a coincidence that Scott would throw in the music of the animatronic who protects all the souls after Abby just stated how there's no one to protect them. In the second movie, I feel we'll be seeing his past and his creation into the puppet through Vanessa's eyes while she's in a coma. This would obviously be done through her memories, and as we clearly know, she knows of Garrett as we see a picture of her holding his toy aeroplane, as well as her admitting to Mike knowing of his murder later in the movie. And I feel in the present day, because I don't think the movie will solely be a prequel, but during the present day, we may see Mike or Abby exploring the destroyed pizzeria to find Garrett, which is a possibility being he was the only soul to not be found or interacted with during the time of the first movie. So I feel this message of "come find me" is to both Mike, while also indirectly saying "come find me" to the fans, as we will witness his past through the memories of the traumatised Vanessa. But overall, I feel the Fnaf 2 movie will be a prequel due to the many hints shown in the movie. either that being the references to the Fnaf 2 game, either through the hints towards the puppet, or the balloon boy toy constantly reappearing throughout the movie, as well as other suggestions such as Vanessa being in a coma and William being locked away, who I personally feel will be discovered in the third film, which I feel will be a jump in time ahead into the future, possibly supporting Vanessa waking up from the coma and only remembering her allegiance to her father, and therefore the "come find me" code may have more than one meaning, which would also allow for the story arc of Vanny into the movie universe. But with all the evidence gathered, I feel it's just too hard for the next movie in the franchise to not be a prequel, specifically knowing that Matthew Lillard has signed a 3-movie deal, and he has just been locked away as shown at the end of the movie. So the only way they're going to be able to use him is if they bring him back straight away for the next movie, which I can't see them doing, or the other two options being they do a big time jump and show him being discovered, which is a possibility, or they use him for flashbacks and memories of the past, where he is William Afton as Spring Bonnie, which I see being the most likely for the second movie, especially with Vanny being in a coma. On top of this, if Scott is wanting to keep with the pattern of his games, it'd make the most sense for the next movie to be a prequel, and then the third one to be a jump in time. This is the final part of my 3-part series, and I just wanted to say a massive thank you for all the support I've been receiving recently, as it has really inspired me to keep making these videos. And although this is the end of the 3-part series, I will be making a few more theory videos on the Fnaf movie, as there are still a few things I want to discuss. But yeah, as I always say, this is just a theory, and I'm not saying that this is confirmed, nor am I saying my theories are facts. So make sure to leave your thoughts on my theory below, and even leave your own theories in the comments so we can have a discussion about them. But until the next video, make sure to like and subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you never miss a video. But until then, stay safe, don't get spring locked, and peace out.